Guys, I just want to teach you something on CPI because many of you don't even know what CPI is. So I just want to give you an update so this can help you how to actually kill CPI, because CPI actually fundamentals, and one thing that you have to remember is that you need to consider the direction of your markets, number one, and you also have to consider a lot of fundamental factors whenever you want to trade CPI, at least if you want to have an edge or a strategy when it comes to trading CPI and other fundamental news as well. If you want to have an approach to them, you should have a strategy in place. You don't just trade it the way people have been telling you. The CPI is actually deeper than what you guys think. Most of you don't even know what CPI stands for. Well, CPI stands for Consumer Price Index. Consumer Price, Consumer Price Index. CPI stands for Consumer Price Index, right? This is based on the rise of inflation in a country. This is based on the rise of inflation in a country. If you guys didn't know, inflation it affects CPI. If you don't know what inflation is, well, best you buy our course so we can teach you fundamentals as well. Because this you have to understand, this you have to know. But I'm just gonna give you a brief context of what CPI actually is. Of what CPI is actually is. So this is what CPI is. I'm just gonna take straight from Google the definition, actually, or not even the definition of CPI, but I'm gonna take the fundamental approach of CPI on Google. This has been on your Google for way too long, but the fact is, you guys are not reading books. You guys are not studying more on money. That's why you're not understanding even what CPI is. You guys are not taking time. You're just traders, but you're not. You are just traders by name, but you're not actually investing in the craft. You're not investing in studying the trading material. Not even the trading material. You know, when I say the trading material basically involves your whole life. Like, what is it that you know? What is it that you know? In terms of the economy, all of that, you're not just a trader by name. You need to understand the economy. You need to understand whenever you're trading NFP, what are you trading whenever you're trading NFP? What's the non-farmer payroll? What's that? How does it affect like the country that I'm in? Like, you need to understand all these approaches, and most of you guys don't even understand these approaches. You just simply just call yourselves traders, but you don't even understand. Look, generally, let me tell you something. I don't trade fundamentals. But I know how to kill fundamentals. I follow my technical analysis based on price action and based on the factority. Fundamentals, they simply create volatility, they don't create market direction. And I understand as well what is it that I'm trading. I don't just take trades, or I don't just get excited. Some of you get excited whenever it's NFP. It's NFP week. You don't even know what NFP is. Most of you are even excited because today it's CPI. You don't even know what CPI is, which is a shame. You don't even know what CPI is. So listen, CPI is actually the Consumer Price Index. So how we actually trade CPI, we look at two factors whenever we are trading CPI. I want you to understand this. We look at the pair that we're going to be trading, whether it's going to be the GBP, USD, right? And then we also look at inflation rates. If you don't understand what inflation is, this is you are in a different world. If you call yourself a trader and you don't understand what inflation is, you are living in a different world. So how we trade CPI, we actually look at two factors. We look at the pair that we're going to be trading, or the pair that's going to be affected, and we look at the inflation rate. Let me write inflation rate. Inflation rates, we compare the inflation rates between those two countries. Which country has a larger inflation rate? Is it the Great British Pound? Is it Britain? Or is it the United States? Or is it America? Between the two pairs, remember you have a major pair and a minor pair. This is your major pair and this is your minor pair. You get what I'm saying? So your major pair and your minor pair, okay, between the Great British Pound and the United States dollar, if you're gonna be looking at those two countries, where are they printing the most amount of fluid currencies? Where are they printing the most amount of fluid currencies? You get what I'm saying? So how we actually trade CPI, it's okay. I want you to understand this. It says when the CPI is rising, it means that the consumer prices are also rising, and when the CPI falls, it means that the consumer prices are generally falling. In short, a higher CPI indicates a higher inflation, while a falling CPI indicates a low inflation or even deflation. I want you to understand this. I'm gonna make an example. I hope I can find emojis somewhere here, because I want you to understand how generally the CPI works. Let's say we have two parties, right? We have let's say we have the government here, right? I want you to understand this. This could be your government. This could be your government, just because I do not have the right emojis. Okay, let me actually do this. You have the government here, right? Since you have the government, you have goods, right? And then there is you at the same time. So how does CPI actually affect you? How does CPI actually affect you, right? And how does it actually if affect your economy, right? So CPI is basically based on inflation rate. So in the government, you have two factors. You have the government, and then you have the Federal Reserve Banks, or the old Bank of England if you're in England, but you obviously have the National Bank where you guys are printing money. But this is a different topic. So how actually the CPI is actually affected? The more we print a certain amount of money, let's take an example with the Zimbabwean dollar. The more they printed actually the Zimbabwean dollar, it's the more inflation started rising. The more the inflation rises, they have to cater for that Zimbabwean dollar in the goods that we're going to be buying. Meaning to say, the more the inflation rises, it's the more prices in the economy rise. Meaning to say, if the government right here decides to print more of this, decides to print more of this Zara, they print more of it. Your tomato or whatever it is, your flag was basically 5 rand. Let's call it a flag. You used to buy your flag with 5 rand. Oh no, let's call it a tomato. You used to buy your tomato right here, your goods with 5 rand, right? But they've printed too much of the US dollar, they've printed too much of the Zimbabwean dollar. Now they have to cater for this amount that they've printed. So what do? They take the money that they've printed and then they put it on your goods. This is why whenever you have inflation, the price of your goods, they actually rise. They become higher whenever you have inflation. Why? Because they've printed too much of the dollar, or they printed too much of your country's currency. So they have to take that currency and acquire it or accommodate it at certain in certain objects or certain goods. This is why you have fuel prices rising. You have all of this rising because they have to cater for it. So basically, in short, whenever you have inflation rates that are rising in a country, CPI will rise, because CPI stands for Consumer Price Index. The Consumer Price Index. If the goods are expensive in a country, it means inflation has risen. So how do we trade CPI then? This becomes easy. You have to look at two. Okay, I want us to look at this. Let's say we're gonna be trading the USD Zara. USD Zara, right? USD Zara. What affects on the USD Zara? Just give me a second. What affects that you know on USD Zara? So guys, I want you to see this. What affects that you know on USD Zara? Look at this. Let's look at the Zara first. Let's look at the rand. What affects that you know? These are stuff that you can find on Google. These are things that you can find on Google. The problem is you are not reading. The problem is you don't even know which industry you are involved in. You are just trading, but you don't even know the industry that you are involved in. This is what these effects on the Zara. Okay, when facts based on inflation. Facts based on inflation. It says, what is the current inflation rate 2022 in South Africa? Because I'm in South Africa, but you can find all of your base currency where you are actually located. It says headlines: Consumer Price Index, which is the CPI of all urban areas. It says, what is the current inflation rate in 2022 in South Africa? Headline: Consumer Price Index, CPI for all urban areas. Annual consumer price inflation was 7.2% in December 2022, down from 7.4% in November 2022. The consumer price index increased by 0.4% month-on-month in December 2022, meaning to say inflation increased. So now you have to compare the facts that you know. The facts that you know, if you can get the latest news. This is why we always tell people, watch Bloomberg, watch the news. Find apps that actually help you, because on our mentorship we do give apps that actually help people to find the latest news. But I'm giving you old news here. But I'm trying to give you an idea of what you can actually do whenever you wanna understand the CPI, right? So it says month on month, it says the consumer price index increased, which is a CPI. The CPI increased by 0.4% month on month, 0.4% month on month in December 2022, right? So now you obviously know, Uguti, from moving forward right now, the CPI that we have in South Africa, or the inflation rate that we have in South Africa, is 7.4%, right? It's 7.4%. It says the annual consumer price inflation was 7.2% in December 2022, down from down from 7.4 in November 2022. So basically we have 7.2 inflation rates. So now I want us to look at the USD, the US dollar. So now I want us to look at facts when it comes to the US dollar. When it comes to the US dollar, because many of you guys, you don't even know what you're doing, and I'm giving you bombs here. I'm giving you bombs. Make sure you like, you share, you subscribe. I'm giving you bombs over here, how to trade the CPI. I'm just gonna give you an idea, but we give the whole thing on our mentorship program. We give the whole thing. So it says, what is the current US inflation rate? 6.5%. The annual inflation rate of the United States dollar is 6.5% for the 12 months ended in December, after rising 7.1% previously, according to the US Labor Department data published in January 12. The next inflation update is scheduled for release on February 14, 2023 at 8:30 a.m. ET Eastern Time. So now you compare. So the next inflation rate will be released on 14th, which is actually today, 2023. So now you compare the two based on prior that you have on the USD Zara, on the Zara, and what you have right now on the USD. So you compare and you look at the inflation rate. What are the chances that whenever it comes to CPI, which the news will favor your direction based on the direction that you're going to be taking? If you're looking for sales, why are you looking for sales? Do you have enough data that's actually telling you to look for sales, or you are just looking for sales? You get what I'm saying? So now I'm not going to reveal secrets or deeper secrets on what you have to do moving forward, but I just wanted to give you an idea on what the market is actually presenting whenever you are trading the CPI. Know these facts. Compare the data that you're going to have on the base pair that you're going to be trading, on your minor pair and on your major pair. Compare whatever it is that you're going to be having before you start taking trades. Understand what inflation rates are saying. But if you want to understand more on what we are given, so we actually have a whole course on fundamentals, teaching you how to trade fundamentals the right way. There's even an approach whenever you want to trade NFP. You don't just trade. Yeah, there are facts that you have to look at. Whenever it comes to CPI, you look at inflation rate. But moving forward on how you have to trade it, you have to sign up for the mentorship. But I was giving you an idea on how to kill CPI. You look at the comparison. You compare inflation rates. And then based on this information, you can then build upon your strategy and on what you're looking for whenever you're going to be trading CPI. But that's it from me right here, your boy Darzo Shire from the DTA Trading Academy. Make sure you like, you share, you subscribe, and you tell your friends and family that we have landed on YouTube. Tell your grandmother that we're on YouTube. Let her become profitable. But this was how to kill CPI. I was giving you a basic fundamental approach on how to kill CPI. You don't only, whenever it comes to you trading fundamentals, you don't look at only your technicals. You need to understand what the news are saying. You need to understand fundamental approaches. You need to understand fundamental factors. You don't just do things. You need to understand the way things are done. You get what I'm saying? If you want to understand how things are properly done, join our academy. We'll teach you. But that's it from me right here, the one and only King Shai and Dozo Shabalala. And this was the Consumer Price Index video, the CPI. Thank you.